I'm 91 years old, and for the first time in my life, I'm spending money on myself without feeling guilty about it. That sounds simple. It shouldn't be remarkable. But if you're a woman of a certain age, you know exactly what I mean. You know what it's like to save, to put things away, to tell yourself, maybe later, maybe when things settle down, maybe for the children, maybe. And then one day you realize you're 91 and you've spent your whole life waiting for that maybe. My name is Mary Dawson, and on this channel, I talk about the things women don't say out loud, about money, about autonomy, about the right to live well in your final years. If you've spent your life serving everyone else and you're ready to serve yourself a little, subscribe, because this is what I learned the hard way. Today, I'm going to tell you about money, about James, about the choices I made that I wish I hadn't, and about the choices I'm making now that I absolutely don't regret. When James died 12 years ago, I was heartbroken. I was also terrified because I didn't know how I was going to manage alone. Our savings weren't large. We weren't wealthy. But James had been careful, disciplined. He'd set aside money over the years, and when everything was sorted, the funeral, the paperwork, the bank accounts, I discovered he'd left me more than I expected. Not a fortune, but enough to make a difference. Enough that I didn't have to panic about how I'd survive on a widow's pension alone. I remember sitting at the kitchen table with the bank statements, looking at that number, and feeling this strange mixture of grief and gratitude. He'd done this. He'd saved this, so I would be okay. And I decided in that moment that I would be very careful with it. I wouldn't waste it. I wouldn't be frivolous. I would guard it like it was sacred, because it represented decades of his work, his sacrifice, his love. So I lived on my pension, carefully, modestly, and that money sat in the bank, untouched, waiting. For what? I'm not entirely sure now. Emergencies, I told myself. Security, a safety net. But also, if I'm honest, for my children. I'd already decided, somewhere in the back of my mind, that this money would be for them. It would be my legacy, my final gift. Years went by. 1 year, then 5, then 10. And I lived very simply, beans and rice, mending clothes instead of buying new ones, saying no to small pleasures because I was protecting that money, protecting it for a future that never quite arrived. I didn't take holidays. I didn't buy the comfortable shoes I needed. I bought the cheap ones that hurt my feet. I didn't go to the theater when friends invited me. I didn't treat myself to nice tea or good coffee or clothes that made me feel beautiful. I just saved and waited. And about 2 years ago, Elizabeth said something to me that I couldn't quite shake. We were having tea, terrible instant coffee because I wouldn't buy the good kind. And she said, "Mom, you're like someone waiting for her life to start." And I got defensive. I said, "I'm 90 years old. My life started a long time ago." But she was right. In a way I didn't want to admit. I was 90, and I was still waiting, still protecting, still telling myself, not yet, not for me, later. And then something shifted. I can't point to a single moment, but I was walking through the garden one morning and I thought, how much longer do I actually have? Not in a morbid way, just factually. I'm 91. My mother lived to 85, my grandmother to 90. I might have 5 more years. I might have 10. I might have 1. I don't know. And the thought that followed was, what am I saving this money for? For emergencies? If I have a serious illness, will money cure it? No. If I need care, will this cover it? For a while, but probably not forever. For my children? They're adults. They have jobs. They have homes. They're not depending on me. And then I thought something that felt almost shameful. What about me? What about what I want? When do I get to have the nice things? I'll be honest, I felt guilty for even thinking it. All those years of conditioning, all those years of being told that good mothers, good wives, good women put everyone else first, that your own desires are selfish, that spending on yourself is frivolous. But I also thought, I'm 91. If I don't do it now, when? So I went to the bank, and I looked at that account, and I made a decision. I was going to spend some of it on myself, on living better. Not all of it, I'm not irresponsible, but enough to make a real difference. The first thing I did was fix my house properly. The heating had been broken for years. I'd managed with extra blankets, extra layers, but at 91, I shouldn't have to be cold in my own home. I called someone, had it repaired, cost me 800 pounds. 800 pounds! When it was done, I cried a little because my house was warm, and I hadn't realized how much I'd been suffering without acknowledging it. Then I bought a proper bed. I'd been sleeping on the same mattress for 30 years. It was broken down. My back hurt every morning. I bought a good one, 2,000 pounds, and now when I wake up, I'm rested, and my back doesn't scream at me. That bed has changed my life in ways I can't fully explain. I bought comfortable shoes, real comfortable shoes, not the cheap ones that hurt. 300 pounds on shoes, 300 pounds, and I can walk without pain. I can volunteer at the library without limping home. I took a holiday, not a big one, but real. 5 days in the Cotswolds, a cottage, walking, tea rooms, beauty, 1,500 pounds. And I sat in that cottage and I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Not the peace of finally resting after work, but the peace of living. I joined a book club, a real one, not just the casual one at home, and we go out monthly. I've made new friends at 91. Can you imagine? And I buy the books we read, new books, not from the library. And I buy tea and cakes when we meet, small amounts, but mine. I got my hair done properly at a real salon, not the cut-price place. And the woman there is lovely, and we talk, and it feels like being cared for. 30 pounds a month times 12, 360 pounds a year on my hair looking nice. I buy good tea now, the kind James used to drink, and I make it properly, in a proper pot. And I sit in the garden and I drink it, and I feel a little bit like I'm remembering him, but also like I'm honoring myself. I went to the theater with Elizabeth, twice, real theater, not amateur productions, professional actors, beautiful stories, 100 pounds a ticket. And I felt like a person with a life, with culture, with experiences. I've hired help for the heavy work in the garden. I used to do it all myself. My back couldn't take it anymore. Now someone comes twice a month and we do it together. And I can actually enjoy my garden instead of suffering through maintaining it. 150 pounds a month. These are small things, individually small, but together they've changed how I live, and they've cost maybe 8,000 pounds in 2 years, out of an amount that was designed to last my lifetime. I still have plenty left, still have security, still have a cushion. But now I also have comfort and beauty and pleasure. And then my children found out. Do you also have money put away that you're not spending on yourself? Do you also feel guilty about taking comfort? Tell me in the comments, because I suspect you do, and I suspect you shouldn't. I didn't tell them, not because I was hiding anything, but because it didn't occur to me that it was their business. But Elizabeth noticed I seemed happier, less tired, and she asked what had changed, and I told her. Her response was loving, but it came with questions. Mom, are you sure you can afford this? What if you need it later? Elizabeth, I need it now, and that's what matters. But what about, after? There it was, the thing nobody said directly, but everyone thought. After, the inheritance. Tom was more distant about it. When I mentioned the heating repair, he said, "That's quite a lot, isn't it?" Yes, and it was worth every penny because now I'm not cold. He didn't argue, but I could see him calculating. And Maggie, who is clever and thoughtful, said something that stung a little. Mom, I understand you want to enjoy your life, but surely you can be comfortable without spending quite so extravagantly. Extravagantly. A heated home and a decent mattress. Extravagant. And I felt it then, the weight of their expectations. They'd already divided that money in their heads, already counted it as theirs, and now I was spending it. And they were unhappy, not because they were worried about me, but because the inheritance was getting smaller. I had a conversation with all three of them over tea one Sunday, and I was calm, but I was clear. I understand you may be disappointed, I said, but I need you to understand something. That money James left me was for me, for my life, my comfort, my final years. Mom, nobody's saying you can't enjoy your life, Elizabeth said gently. But you're all worried about the money, aren't you? About what's left for you. Nobody answered, but they didn't deny it either. I'm 91, I said. I don't know how much time I have left, but I know this. I'm not going to spend my final years being cold and uncomfortable so you can inherit more. That's not how this works. But what if you need it? Tom asked. Then I'll use it. And if I don't need it, I'll use it on myself. Either way, I'm going to live well. Maggie tried a different approach. You could be comfortable without spending quite so much. I could, but I'm 91. I'm done with good enough. I'm done with making do. I'm going to have what I want. And we sat in silence for a moment. And then Elizabeth reached over and squeezed my hand. You're right, Mum. You're absolutely right. Tom and Maggie didn't quite say that, but they stopped arguing about it. They understood, or they accepted it, or they just realized I wasn't going to be moved. But I know they're still disappointed. I know they still think I'm being selfish, and I've had to make peace with that, because their disappointment is not my responsibility. My comfort is. And I've learned something important through this. I've learned that you don't need permission to live well, that being a good mother doesn't mean dying uncomfortable so your children can be richer, that love is not measured in the inheritance you leave, that your final years matter. They count. They're not just waiting time until you're gone. I've learned that spending money on myself is not selfish. It's self-respect. It's saying, I deserve comfort. I deserve beauty. I deserve to enjoy my life. And I've learned that people will be disappointed when you stop serving their expectations. And you have to be okay with that. I'm going to continue spending this money, not recklessly, but generously, on myself. I'm going to take more holidays. I'm going to buy more books. I'm going to enjoy more theater. I'm going to have beautiful things in my home. I'm going to be warm in winter and well-fed and well-dressed. And when I die, there will be something left for my children. Not as much as they might have wanted, but something. And more importantly, I will have lived, really lived, not just survived, not just protected their future, but actually lived. And my legacy won't be money. It will be the example I set, that at 91, I chose myself, that I decided comfort mattered more than inheritance, that I understood you can't take it with you. Thank you for listening to this, for letting me say it out loud. If you also have money you're not spending, I want to give you permission to spend it. Not all of it, be wise, but some of it, on yourself. Buy the comfortable shoes, fix the heating, take the holiday. You deserve it. Write in the comments, I deserve to live well. Not for me, for you, as a reminder, as permission. See you soon. And remember, your money is yours. Your time is yours. Your life is yours. And you have every right to enjoy all three while you still can.